Today was day 121 of 20 and started off with backend first, jumping into Docker, the Docker image that's running on Google Cloud Run, a spin to zero instance, going through multi-stage builds, which reduces build size and increases security, and then daemon for cleaning up memory leaks, and build caches for increasing developer velocity, and then how to copy things to different builds to keep build size small, and then timeouts for Puppeteer on Google Cloud Run, and then configuring artifact registry cleanup on Google Cloud, and that was all about 3 hours in total. After that, I got into working through some of the connections that I made at the networking event that I hosted on Saturday. The co-host did not show up, so I hosted the whole thing myself. Met a UX researcher that worked at Google, and that was a really cool conversation just to see what that career path is like and what it entails. I had never really heard of that role before, and talked a little bit about maybe moving to San Francisco to get my foot in the door, so just something I'm thinking about in the back of my head. And then I also saw this platform called Leopard.fyi for women getting into tech, so I applied to join that. And then also followed up on some connections I made here on TikTok actually over the weekend for consultancy work and then a job opportunity. But that was the whole day. A little bit different than what I normally do. I also applied to 2 jobs, LinkedIn Easy Apply, just to put some numbers on the board, and that was basically the whole day. But I will see you either tonight or tomorrow morning for day 122. It's day 122 of 20. Started today off with more backend work. Today, looking at the Express code to look at a couple of things. Try catches for spinning up the headless browser. So if it fails, it's doing cleanup basically. Did some of that inside of Docker as well. So there's kind of like multiple levels to manage memory, make sure there's no memory leaks. And then after that, learned a new type of structure called promise.race, which basically has 2 promises go, and if one of them finishes first, then it falls back to the other condition, something like that. And then after that, taking a little bit of a look at type narrowing with TypeScript, looking at error messages and narrowing them down to an error message type so that they can then be acted upon. And then looking at validating data coming into the Express instance, so data coming from like an API call or a database, which is called trust boundaries, I think. So doing some work with that. And I started to get a TypeScript types shared file for both the front end and back end, and we need a shared resource. I'm figuring that out right now, so it's in the works. After that, I got into LeetCode 647, which is working with palindromes, which is similar to LeetCode 5, and also another one I forget, 409 I think. And then system design, going through design LeetCode, going through the first 2 services, so getting a problem and information about the problem to view it, and then the second one is submitting a solution to a problem using a sandbox to run the code safely, which in this case is Docker, and then submitting that to the database, and the database sending it to the user, the feedback on their submission. And after that, I got into 5 job applications in total, and that wraps up today. It's only 11 p.m. I could probably go for another hour, hour and a half, but I'm absolutely exhausted. And so I'm going to turn in early and wake up early. It's going to be a lot going on tomorrow. It's going to be a super long day. That is day 122, and I will see you all tomorrow, as always. And on top of all of that, I forgot to say, also dealing with allergies and fatigue from a diet that I'm trying to still dial in, and also the worst heartbreak that I've ever experienced in my entire life. So it's been a rough week. I'm just going to try to get to everything that I can and do as much as I can, but it will be a miracle if I just survive. So, oh my goodness, things get better. They always do. Day 123 and 124 together. 123 was absolutely crazy. 4 hours of class, gym, 10,000 steps, going out for drinks, and in between all of that, I got a single job app done, and that was it. Today, just as busy, and I got to squeeze in an hour of doing shared NPM workspaces for the backend service so far today, and then later tonight I want to get into job applications. I just got back from a networking event in Culver City and got to meet a whole bunch of people from a whole bunch of industries, and that was really cool. Founders and wellness and travel and cybersecurity and lawyers and attorneys, so it was really helpful. Kind of feeling like recently I want to just meet more people. I don't think it's a skills issue at this point. It's more of just connections and knowing the right person and applying to more jobs. But I really need to be consistent. Tomorrow's going to be another 4 hours of class. I'm sure I'm not going to get that much done. But that's been the last 2 days. And I will put any numbers on the screen or info on the screen if I get to anything tonight. I will see you all tomorrow for the last day of this week. Yesterday was day 125. It was as busy as I thought it would be, so I didn't get to any coding. Woke up today on Friday and got into the backend service, merging in the monorepo migration through a pull request and looking at some of the options to do runtime validation for the trust boundaries. So when data comes in from the database, making sure the data is formed correctly and things like that. And then after that, got into LeetCode 409, which I've done before, and I tried to solve it a different way using sorting and then pulling out pairs. That did not work, but it was good practice. And then after that, got into 15 minutes of system design, going through LeetCode, designing how users would do competitions and how the leaderboard would work. And then after that, I applied to 4 jobs in total. And that is all of day 125. Still feeling very off, low energy. So I'm just trying to be consistent, and then hopefully by next week things will kind of bounce back to normal. But that's the end of week 25, and I will see you all next week on Sunday. Today is day 126 of 20. Started today off with a brunch for women in tech in Pasadena. That was a really wonderful event. Met a lot of older women in tech who have like established careers, and I just got to sit and listen for once. About all their stories and what they've done and where they've traveled to, and so I'm looking forward to the next one of that event. After that, I had 4 hours of class in the middle part of the day, so just really full. It's exam season, and I expect it's going to be that way probably for the next month. After that, got into LeetCode 409, solved it the easy way really quickly. Don't know why I spent so much time on that last week, but usually spending a lot of time on a problem makes it a lot easier to solve the next time. After that, I got into system design, going through design LeetCode, and today was looking at how to handle huge spikes in traffic using a message worker architecture, status updates in a database, kind of what I'm designing for this backend service right now. So it's kind of really amazing to see the system design for that, and it's basically what I've already built and understood. And then also looking at acknowledgement flows for message queue systems and how they make sure that a single message or job doesn't get taken by multiple workers. And then idempotency checks by putting the job ID in the database with a status field. And then lastly, doing live leaderboard updates using either SSE and WebSockets or using like a JavaScript on the client side and pulling a Redis sorted set to kind of get a live-ish updated dashboard. After that, I applied to 2 jobs. I'm going to try to apply to 3 more and then maybe get into the backend service. And it's been a really long day, and I still need to finish designing this flyer for the event in summer. So there's a lot going on right now, hosting multiple events, and just going to do as much as I can. My energy levels are better, so hopefully that will carry through the rest of the week. I got 6,000 steps in today, not my 10,000. But tomorrow I'm going to start back up and do 10,000 steps a day. Anyway, it's day 126, and I will see you all tomorrow, as always. Yesterday was day 127 of 20. Spent most of yesterday working on the backend service, getting into all the comments on the very first pull request, basically hardening security across the entire backend route. So that was removing a fallback URL, which could mix production and dev workers and job IDs, and then polishing the front end with some of the states there, and then making sure that I was interpolating values into an HTML template and without cleaning those text fields, which could be an injection risk, and then updating the documentation. And what else? Oh, the front end had a CSS little bug that needed to be cleaned up. A big part of yesterday was going through and cleaning up the trust boundaries. So that's making sure that all the user input for the PDF generation is validated. And so there's compile time validation, which is through TypeScript, and then runtime validation, which happens to Zod, so a third-party library that I installed. And the cool thing is that the TypeScript types are derived from the schemas in Zod, so they're kind of like glued together, and they basically don't drift apart, which is an awesome little library to have. That was basically everything. I learned a little bit about TypeScript index access types, which is kind of like destructuring in JavaScript. So that was another cool little thing to learn about. And then finally, I wrapped up with LeetCode 5, and that was all of yesterday. That was Startup Arena in Santa Monica at the Clubhouse, and I only got to get there halfway through the event because of class, but I got there for the networking portion after and got to meet all sorts of people, Xseed founders, people who do coaching for funding for seed, pre-seed, A-series, met project managers, software engineers, have a bunch of people to follow up with. And one of the feelings that I'm just kind of sitting with is the last 2 days did not get to any code, but a lot of meeting people and building networks and organizing things. Spent the last 2 days working on this flyer for this event in summer, and so it really feels like for the last 5 months I've been working on finding a job, but right now it feels like taking a job would be like settling. And so if I can just like last for a couple more months, the network that I'm building seems like it's going to lead into some really cool opportunities. And so trying to have faith in that process as my bank account gets emptier and emptier, and just be open to things happening, which they are. I got off the phone with the CEO of the startup that I might have a full-time position with. They were talking about all the things that are happening there with the supply chains in San Diego and Mexico, and hosting this event in Santa Monica. And I met another person, a founder at this event, and they have a business in downtown Los Angeles. I'm going to go and tour their facilities and see what their business is about, and they could have open positions there. And it's like, if money was not an issue, it would just be really going out and meeting people and learning about opportunities and finding what I want to do with my life. So I'm trying to keep that type of optimism and open-mindedness and just, what's the word? Potential. Keep potential open and not settle, while also balancing it with the realistics of having to pay rent and having a job. But yeah, that's my feelings. Over the last 2 days, I did a IQ test for an assessment for a job position. No job applications, no coding, nothing. It's just been teaching and then working on this poster flyer, which I'm not that great at design, so I'm getting design feedback from people, and so my design skills are growing, and just like everything's happening. There's so much going on right now. But yeah, that's the last 2 days. Not as much code as I wanted to do, but growing and meeting new people and doing things I know are going to compound and turn into really cool opportunities later on. So just trying to be flexible and adaptable and be patient, because I always want results now, but the results take time. But yeah, this day 128 and 129, and I will see you all tomorrow for the last day of the week. Today is day 131 of 20, and I guess also 130. Last week was quite intense. So much time spent working on the summer event, designing the flyer, and 4 hours of class per day. So I did not get any work done on Thursday, the last day of the week. Just going to gift myself that day, and started strong today. Got through 12 job applications, 2 LeetCode Easies, 15 minutes of system design, going through design WhatsApp and looking at the core entities, the non-functional requirements, and then starting to look at how WebSockets are designed and how the API endpoints are written for that. Brain is absolutely fried. I had 4 hours of class today as well. So I'm trying to balance things out and be consistent, but like also know that it's exam season. If I do too much, by the end of May or June, I'm going to have no energy to apply to jobs or start a job. So I'm going to try to balance things out. I'm not sure how that's going to go. Energy levels are better. Got my protein in and my steps in and just eating healthier. So that helps. But it also feels like I'm doing a little bit too much. I'm also like doing a bunch of networking events and also trying to build out my math educator network as well in person. So I'm going to try to sign up for some conferences there and hosting an event this week. And so it's just, there's a lot happening. It's really fun. It's really cool, but I don't want to overextend myself and then end up not being able to do anything. But that's the first day of the week, doing a little bit of catch up on job applications today. And then hopefully tomorrow, kind of get back into the flow of working on the project, the backend project, and applying jobs and doing all the usual things. But anyway, I will see you all tomorrow for day 132. It's day 132 and 133. And yesterday I went through LeetCode 15, which was 3-sum, which I had done before. Kind of sort of got most of it, and I finally finished it. Then I went through system design, going through more WebSockets for designing WhatsApp. So WebSocket syntax, writing all the WebSocket roots for that. And then after that I applied to 6 jobs yesterday. A lot of burnout, feel like I'm really hitting a wall. So did not do much besides that. Today, also burned out, also feel like I'm hitting a wall. So I started off with LeetCode again, going through LeetCode 19, which was remove the nth node from a list. I did the kind of brute force easy way first. And then after that, got to system design, doing more of WhatsApp, this time going through the high level design, looking at the database structure for that, and looking at layer 4 and layer 7 of the OSI layers of the internet and how WebSockets interact with that differently. And then after that, I got into 3 job applications. One of them was really specific to my skill set. It was math and a founding engineer role. So I spent about an hour on that, custom responses, and then sending that off. And I want to get into the backend tonight. I may or may not. I might just take the night off. I'm still like so much fatigue. And tomorrow's gonna be pretty light. But that's yesterday and today. I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know if it's burnout that's been building over the course of the year, which I think it is. I'm really looking forward to my weekends. And I feel like I used to be able to get some work done on the weekends, and now I'm like, whenever the weekends come, I'm doing absolutely nothing. So I might need to slow down for like a month, even though I need a job more than ever. And making sure that basically I'll have a couple more months of applying to jobs, and I won't have a couple months of burnout, which is what happened last year. But that is the week so far, and I will see you all tomorrow for the next day. It's day 134 of 20. Started today off with the backend service, jumping right in, doing unit tests with vtest, some of the helper functions, and for the Zod scheme validation. Then after that, it was getting into stress testing this PDF service, and so the very first thing was to set quota limits and spinning limits on Google Cloud Run, which could rack up costs pretty fast. That took AI quite a bit of work to do. I was just kind of guiding it. It wrote the script basically to subscribe to PubSub on Google Cloud Run, so that if it gets a notification that a quota is hit, it'll then run the script and then set the instances down to 0 or 1. And there's a whole bunch of things happening with that, but I finally got it working and testing, and that was that. Then started stage 1 of the stress testing, which was 5 concurrent jobs at a time for 10 minutes. And I think it was like half a job per second or something like that. It ran through about 1,000 jobs in like 10-15 minutes. Went well. 395 jobs out of the 395 jobs about passed, which was awesome. Then we hit Q stashes free tier limit, so I'll probably have to upgrade to the paid tier and then rerun all the stress tests. But so far, I think at the level that we're doing, at this level that the startup is at, we're probably not going to need more than a couple hundred to a couple thousand per month. So probably don't need to do that, but it's just more of my own curiosity to see how that works. After that, I got into DSA, going through LeetCode 21, a LeetCode easy for a linked list, which is just merging 2 sorted lists and looking at pass by reference, pass by copy, things like that, and just getting back at the linked list. And then finally, system design, or not finally, but system design, doing more of design WhatsApp, looking at how to send and receive messages with WebSockets, and then offline support for WebSockets, and then media attachments with blob storage and pre-signed URLs. And then after that, I got into 6 job applications, kind of scattered across senior front-end roles, and then software engineer 2 roles, and a junior role, just kind of applying to whatever. And that was everything for today. Pretty full. I'm hoping to try and get as much done tomorrow as well. We'll see. But I will see you all for the last day of the week on day 135. I've never felt so competent and at the same time so completely undervalued by this job market, this current job market. It feels like I'm in some type of like situationship, and I don't know how to feel about that. I was just thinking over the weekend, like, it's gonna be close to 6 months at the end of this week. My bank account is not gonna last forever, and wow, half a year of job searching is crazy. And just like the stark reality that this job market is so ridiculously tough. It's been 6 months of building projects, DSA, system design, going to events, hosting events, opening every door possible basically, and it is still just so difficult to get traction, to get a call back, to get an interview. If you're going through the job search process right now, my heart literally goes out to you, really goes out to you. I don't even know what to say. Honestly, maybe just keep going. The consistency has to pay off. But honestly, there are so many moments where I just think maybe it's not going to. And my bank account will empty out and I will have to move back in with the parents. But at the same time, really grateful for so many things. Over the last month, I did the 10,000 steps a day challenge, and that has been huge, like massive for physical health, mental health. It has helped me so much like process emotions and take a step back from the job hunt, personal life, professional life. And if it wasn't like the weight of the financial burden kind of hanging over my head, I think I'd be really, really happy overall with the last 6 months. I mean, I am, but it's still like, it'd be nice to be financially stable at the same time. But over the last 2 days, last Thursday and then today, I went through LeetCode 19 and 21, looking at the optimal solution, LeetCode 152, brainstorming and diagramming out the DP solution, then getting into system design with Design WhatsApp, looking at WebSockets, Kafka, Redis Pub Sub, and how all of those interconnect with like workers and fan-out services, which has been really cool. Just having conversations with AI, and like I'll say what my idea of how I think the system works, and then it'll correct me, and I'll have a conversation with it and ask questions. That's been really amazing. And then I applied to 9 jobs in total over the last 2 days, and I'm going to try to after dinner get into the backend service and do the stress test at the second level. But that is day 136 and 135, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. But yeah, just in general, in the trenches, trying to be consistent and staying optimistic that something will happen soon. When you're going slow, really try to slow down and rest and cherish it because it will not last forever. So some good news. I had a call with the recruiter about a founding engineer position, and it's here in Los Angeles. It's local, it's hybrid. It's a science heavy role. It's backend, which is not my specialty, and they have 2 people pretty far along in the pipeline, so the chances of getting it are kind of small. But it's really cool to have an opportunity like that come across my plate. I think that's the very first founding engineer position I've interviewed for, besides the one that I currently have. And what was I going to say? Just a little bit of boost of motivation and an otherwise kind of dip that I'm feeling. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is the school year is over, so all my students are off taking exams, so I'm not really working. And the startup that I'm part-time at, they're also, for the last couple of weeks, have also been in like standby mode as they're pivoting to a new focus, and also experienced a bit of burnout, which I usually get around June, but I'm actually experiencing in May. So all those 3 things combined really just got me kind of in the feels a bit. And every time I slow down, I have this thing with like object impermanence where I'm like, oh, I'm not working this week. I've never worked a day in my life. And I'm still like adjusting to that process because I'm always moving, I'm always doing something. And so when I'm doing absolutely nothing, sitting on the couch, reading a book for a couple hours or going to the movies on a weekday, it feels like so wrong. But yeah, I'm trying to really this week not think about resting, but actually resting, because if you think about resting, you don't work and you also don't rest, and you just spend the whole week basically building more burnout. But then today I had the interview, and then in the exact same afternoon, the startup is going to be going full time on Monday. They have some things that need to get built, so just like that, going from oh, things are really slow back to 100%. So all I have to say is if you're in the job hunt, it is a roller coaster of emotions. It's like really high intensity periods, it's really low lows. That's really kind of startup culture too. And if you're kind of in a lull, you're going through it, I just want to say that it always passes. You're going to get to another place where you're moving again, you're building things, your skills are growing again. And as much as possible, when you're going slow, really try to slow down and rest and cherish it because it will not last forever. And of course, I'm saying that to myself. But over the last 2 days, I got through LeetCode 152, going through the DP solution for all the states where they're not collapsed. And I went through system design, finishing up WhatsApp, and then starting on Yelp. And then I applied to about 8 jobs, and then things will start up in full next week. On Friday, I'm going to go do a tour of another apparel company in downtown Los Angeles. And then, yeah, next week it's going to be right back up to doing things full time. I think one of the most frustrating things about the current job market is that you see a position like you're super excited about, you do a custom cover letter, custom tailored resume, you fill out a bunch of custom responses, and then you send it off. You spend like, I don't know, hour and a half doing it, and then you get rejected within like 24 hours. And then you send off another resume that you don't really care that much about. It'll take 5 seconds of your time, and then you'll immediately get a call back. And so it just feels like it doesn't make sense to put the effort into any application. But anyway, today was a day of rest. Despite not wanting to do anything, I saw a job application that I got really excited about. It was right up my alley, ed tech and tutoring and things like that. So I took maybe like 20 minutes and put together a couple of custom responses and then shipped it off. And that was it for today. Went to the gym, got my steps in. Really just took today off and did absolutely nothing, and going to try to do that for the rest of the weekend. But that's the last day. Today's the last day of the 6 months, which feels kind of like anticlimactic, slowing down and doing nothing for the last week of the 6 months. But I'll do my usual recap probably tomorrow or Saturday, and I will see you all again then. This month 7, and the end of month 7, oh my gosh. And these are all the takeaways from the last 4 weeks, as usual. Last 4 weeks, 2 interviews, phone screens. The one still in process, the other one fell through. In total, 85 job applications, up from 84 the last 4 weeks, so pretty solid there. 20 rejections, so on average, about 75% of the jobs that I applied to did not get back to me, basically ever. 4 networking events, one of those was hosted. I think 2 of them were like founder type events, and 29 new LinkedIn connections, so a little bit higher than normal. 3 recruiters reached out in total, and things that went well. Crossed the 500 job application mark. I think that's a good thing. I don't know. There's some benefit to seeing so many job applications because you see the skills that are really in demand. And what I've seen is like AI forward, backend with Python is a really big part. TypeScript and Next.js server-side rendering showed a lot. So all of those skills I really want to build more of. And then integrating LLMs is in like literally every job application. So I think if I start to specialize a bit, I'll probably go down some of those routes and add more of those skills. DSA and system design are basically in maintenance mode. I've seen almost all of the big data structures, all the big system design ideas and concepts and technologies. So that's really cool. And this last 4 weeks I got into backend. There's mostly all backend. And I think this next 4 weeks is also going to be mostly backend as well, trying to wrap up this backend service, doing observability and stress testing, and then moving into Shopify integrations next. Things that didn't go well, a lot of burnout, a lot of fatigue, I think due to the summer cut dieting. That's part of it. I think it's also been 7 months of really high intensity, just go, learning and building and teaching and working at a startup and hosting events and everything. And as usual, I'm doing too much. So I think I'm feeling the effects of that. And so and lost a lot of time also to what's happening in June, all the events that are going to be happening in June, and planning those and collaborating with people and just talking with 1,000,001 people. And so that's been taken away from this job search as well. But overall, it's been a really amazing 7 months. I have no regrets. I'm really proud of everything. I'm really excited for the next couple of months. I think I have a runway to last another couple of months, believe it or not. So I'm just going to push into the next month, be consistent, don't slow down too much, and something has to come through soon. If you're in the job search, I wish you best of luck and perseverance and energy to push through as well. We will all land something soon, hopefully.